Okay, imagine this. A market that nearly triples in like less than 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what they're projecting for digital textile printing inks. We're talking a jump from about USD 6.89 billion in 2025
Right.
to a massive USD 18.57 billion by 2033.
That's huge. What's the growth rate on that?
It works out to a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR, of 13.2%. Pretty significant, right?
Absolutely. 13% year on year compounded. That's serious expansion.
Exactly. So let's dive into what's actually behind these numbers, what they really mean.
Yeah, definitely. We've been looking at this recent report, and it forecasts exactly that kind of, well, boom in the digital textile printing inks market.
Right.
So I think our goal today should be to get past just the big figures and really understand the core dynamics, what's driving this.
Exactly. Think of this as, your shortcut to understanding a really major shift in how we make and even consume textiles.
Good way to put it.
We're going to unpack the key findings from this report, pinpoint what's really lighting the fire under this growth, and explore what it all means. So what's our main objective here?
Well, I think we really need to do a thorough exploration, a deep dive into the global market for these inks.
Okay.
We want to get a handle on where it is now, where it's expected to go, and crucially, the factors that are, steering it.
Makes sense.
So we'll focus on what's fueling the growth, how things look different region by region, and the tech trends that are making it all possible.
All right, let's kick off with that global picture then. So 2025, the estimate is USD 6.89 billion worldwide. That's already a pretty big number, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It definitely shows that digital printing isn't niche anymore. It's already a significant part of the textile industry.
Right.
And that surge you mentioned to over 18.5 billion by 2033, it just highlights the sheer momentum here.
So what are the main forces pushing this? What's making it expand so fast?
That's the key question, isn't it? The report points to a few big things converging. Well, one major one is the growing demand for printing that's not just high quality, but also greener, more sustainable.
Ah, okay. The eco-friendly angle. That fits with a lot of other trends we see.
Precisely. Consumers, businesses, they're all putting more weight on sustainability. And then alongside that, you've got the absolute explosion of e-commerce
Right.
and that whole print-on-demand model that comes with it. That creates a huge need for flexible, efficient printing tech.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to just order one custom t-shirt online or for a brand to do a small batch without massive setup costs.
It's a game changer.
It really is. And of course, you can't ignore fashion itself. It changes so fast.
Exactly. Faction's hunger for quick turnarounds, new designs, personalized stuff.
Yeah.
That's a massive engine driving this whole thing.
Okay, so sustainability, e-commerce, fashion trends, big drivers.
Yeah. But to really get the full picture, we need to look at how this plays out in different parts of the world. It's not uniform.
Good point. Let's break it down regionally. Where should we start? North America. They have the biggest share right now, don't they?
They do. Over 40% of the global market in 2025. The size is just under USD 2 billion, 1.998 billion, and still growing strong.
What's the story there? What's driving that nearly 2 billion?
Well, the projected CAGR for North America is 12.2% through 2033. And the U.S. is the giant within that, obviously. It's got, USD 1.576 billion in
Right.
2025.
Yeah.
And its CAGR is 12.0%. A lot of that comes down to that strong e-commerce backbone and the really mature print-on-demand scene we talked about.
So personalization and convenience are key there.
Seems like it, but then you look at Canada. Smaller market, sure, around USD 240 million in 2025.
Okay.
But its CAGR is actually higher at 13.0%.
Mhm.
And the report links that strongly to their focus on sustainable printing, eco-friendly inks.
Interesting. So maybe a bit more focus on the green side driving growth there.
Could be. Maybe regulations play a part too, or just stronger consumer preference. And Mexico's solid too, 12.7% CAGR,
Yeah.
but USD 182 million market in 2025. Steady growth across the board, really.
Okay, North America's clear. Let's hop across the pond. Europe.
Europe's the second largest, over
Okay.
30% share. Market size in 2025 is pegged at USD 2.549 billion.
So bigger than North America in total value.
Wait, let me check those numbers again. North America was 1.998 billion, Europe 2.549 billion. Ah, yes, you're right. Europe's actually larger in 2025 value. My mistake earlier.
Okay, interesting. And the growth rate?
It's a bit more moderate, but still very healthy. 11.6% CAGR through 2033.
And within Europe, any standouts?
Yeah, quite diverse. The UK, for instance, about USD 428 million in 2025, but with a 12.4% CAGR. Again, the report highlights consumer demand for sustainable products driving sales there.
Seems like a common thread.
It really does. That Germany is the biggest chunk in Europe, over USD 500 million, so 504.76 million.
Yeah.
CGR is 11.8%.
And what's driving Germany?
The report points to their big established textile industry, but also the automotive sector. Lots of textiles used in cars.
Ah, good point. Seat fabrics, interiors.
Yeah. Exactly. Then you've got France, Italy, even Russia showing significant market sizes and solid growth rates between 10 and 11%. It just shows how widely adopted this tech is becoming across different economies.
Okay. Now, Asia Pacific, you said earlier their growth is the one to watch.
Oh, absolutely. Their market share in 2025 is smaller, around 23%, about USD 1.65 billion.
But the growth.
That's where it gets exciting. A whopping 16.1% CGR projected for APAC. That's significantly higher than North America or Europe.
Wow. And who's leading that charge? China.
China's a huge part of it, yeah. Nearly USD 700 million market in 2025, 694.51 million specifically, and a 15.6% CAGR. I mean, their dominance in textile manufacturing overall plays a big role. They seem to be rapidly integrating digital methods.
Makes sense, but India's growth rate is even faster.
Even faster, 18.0% CAGR. The market size is smaller, starting at about USD 165 million in 2025.
18%. What's going on there?
It seems to be a mix. Growing demand for customized clothing, especially traditional or ethnic wear, combined with, again, that move towards adopting eco-friendly digital printing. It's like culture and tech meeting.
Fascinating combo. And Japan.
Japan's strong too. Around USD 228 million market, 14.6% CAGR. So yeah, the whole region is just expanding rapidly.
Okay, quick stops in the other regions. South America.
A bit over 5% market share in 2025. Size is around USD 262 million, but still a very respectable CAGR of 13.9%.
Any key countries there?
Brazil stands out. About USD 112 million market, 14.5% CAGR. Their existing textile industry seems to be adopting digital quite readily.
And Argentina?
Smaller, about USD 44 million, but actually a slightly higher CGR at 14.8%. Maybe suggest smaller, more agile businesses jumping on the tech.
Could be. What about the Middle East?
Smaller share, again, around 2%. Market size is roughly USD 276 million in 2025. But look at the growth, 14.6% CAGR.
So similar growth potential to South America and APAC almost.
It's exactly. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Turkey, all showing CAGRs over 14%, even pushing 15%. Turkey's interesting, driven by fast fashion, but also that sustainability angle again.
It keeps coming back to that. And finally, Africa.
Smallest share, around 1%, about USD 151 million market in 2025, but still growing at 13.5% CAGR. So there's definitely potential.
Where specifically?
The report highlights South Africa and Nigeria. Nigeria's growth, interestingly, is linked to the rise of Afrocentric fashion. They need high-quality digital printing for those vibrant, complex designs.
That makes sense. So, okay, a really diverse global picture, but growth pretty much everywhere, just at different speeds and maybe for slightly different reasons.
Precisely. The drivers vary a bit, but the underlying trend is strong globally.
All right, let's shift gears and look at how the market breaks down internally, like ink types, materials, tech, that kind of thing. Where do we start? Ink types.
Sounds good. So according to the report, the dominant ink type right now is dispersed ink.
Okay, why dispersed?
Well, these inks chemically bond really well with synthetic fibers. Think polyester. This means great wash resistance. The colors stay vibrant, they're durable, so perfect for fashion, home textiles, banners, that sort of thing.
Got it. Stuff that needs to last and maybe gets washed. But is that the fastest growing? Often the biggest isn't the fastest climber.
You nailed it. Reactive inks are tagged as the fastest growing segment.
And why is that?
It's really tied to that customization trend, especially in fashion. Big brands, designers, they're using digital printing for quick, limited runs, print-on-demand collections.
Right.
And reactive inks are brilliant for getting detailed designs onto natural fabrics, cotton, linen, silk.
Ah, okay. So dispersed for synthetics, reactive for naturals, and reactive is growing faster because of fashion's demand for custom on cotton and things like that.
Exactly. That's the dynamic. While dispersed leads in share now, reactive is the one really picking up speed.
Okay. What about the materials themselves, the substrates? You mentioned natural fibers just now.
Yeah, natural fibers, cotton, linen, silk. They actually hold the largest market share currently.
Why is that, do you think? Back to sustainability.
That's a huge part of it. Consumers want sustainable, biodegradable, organic options. Eco-conscious brands are pushing it. It aligns perfectly.
Makes sense. But I remember seeing polyester mentioned as growing fast, too. That seems contradictory.
It does a bit, but polyester has its own advantages. It's generally cheaper than natural fibers, which is a big deal for manufacturers managing cost.
True.
And it's just so versatile. Fashion, yes, but also automotive textiles, soft signage, industrial uses.
Mm.
You can blend it with other fibers too, which helps with print quality and feel.
So it's like a balancing act. Consumer desire for natural versus the practical cost and versatility of synthetics like polyester.
Exactly that. Both have strong drivers behind them.
Okay, interesting. Now the technology. How are they actually getting the ink onto the fabric? What are the main methods?
Well, the report says thermal inkjet, or TIJ, has the biggest market share right now.
TIJ, what's special about that?
Resolution. TIJ printers can achieve really high print resolution, like over 1,200 dots per inch. They use heat to basically fire tiny ink droplets.
It's really fine detail.
Exactly. Perfect for intricate designs, complex patterns, even photo quality prints. That's why it's popular in fashion, home decor, promotional stuff where detail matters.
Gotcha. High detail. But
Yeah.
again, is it the fastest growing?
Nope. That title goes to continuous inkjet, or CIJ.
Okay, CIJ. How's that different?
Instead of heating individual droplets, CIJ works with a continuous flow of ink. The printer deflects the droplets it needs onto the fabric and recirculates the rest.
And the advantages.
Speed and continuous operation. It's much faster, the ink dries quickly, less downtime. Ideal for high-volume printing. Think mass production for apparel, home textiles, large signage runs.
Okay, so TIJ for the detail work, CIJ for the speed and volume. Clear difference in application focus.
Yep, exactly.
All right, last breakdown. Applications. Where does all this printed fabric actually end up?
The biggest slice of the pie right now is apparel printing.
Not surprising, I guess.
No, especially with that e-commerce and direct-to-consumer boom we talked about. Brands need flexible printing for clothes. Print on demand is huge here. No big inventory needed. Quick reaction to trends.
Yeah, it really ties back to those e-commerce drivers again. It's powering so much of this. What application is growing fastest, though?
That'd be advertising printing.
Advertising, like banners and stuff.
Exactly. Businesses are using more and more large format textile prints, banners, posters, backdrops for trade shows,
Yeah.
anything visual to grab attention.
And digital printing works well for that.
Yeah, you get vibrant colors, durable prints, high resolution on lots of different fabrics.
Yeah.
Good for indoors or outdoors. So it's becoming the go-to for impactful advertising.
Wow. So from a custom t-shirt ordered online to a giant building wrap, the range is huge.
It really is impressive.
Okay, so we've touched on drivers and things throughout, but let's just quickly summarize the key market dynamics. What are the main things pushing this market forward?
Well, number one is definitely that rising demand for customized, personalized textiles. That's fundamental. Then, just the general growth in the fashion and apparel industry overall provides a rising tide.
Makes sense.
And as we've said, the huge impact of e-commerce and the availability of these digital printing solutions themselves, they enable the other trends.
Clear drivers. But are there any bumps in the road, things holding it back a bit? Restraints.
Yeah, the report mentions a couple. The main one is the initial cost. Setting up a digital textile printing operation isn't cheap. The equipment is a big investment up front.
Okay, barrier to entry for some.
Potentially, yes. And the other thing is printing speed. While it's getting faster for really massive runs, traditional methods can sometimes still be quicker.
So maybe not quite there for absolutely all mass production scenarios yet.
Not quite yet, but the gap is closing.
Okay, those are fair points. Now looking ahead, what are the big trends shaping the future of this market?
Well, reinforcing what we said, the demand for customization isn't going away. If anything, it's accelerating. And maybe even more importantly, the push for eco-friendly and sustainable inks is becoming really central. We're talking water-based inks, bio-based ones, low VOC,
VOC.
volatile organic compounds, basically fewer harmful emissions.
Yeah.
Plus, things like Ocotex certification, which signals safety and environmental standards are met. That's becoming a big selling point.
Sustainability again. It's clearly not just a buzzword here. What else?
Lots of investment going into making the printers faster and higher resolution at the same time. It's about efficiency and cost effectiveness, making digital even more competitive.
Better, faster, cheaper. The usual tech goals.
Pretty much. And tied into sustainability, there's a big focus on reducing water and energy use in the whole process.
So it sounds like the future is more personalized, greener, and more efficient.
That sums it up pretty well.
Did the report give any examples of companies or specific tech advancements happening right now? Any sense of the competitive scene?
It didn't do a full deep dive on all the players. You'd probably need the full report for that. But it did mention major companies are active, and it gave a specific example. Epson.
Ah, Epson. Big name in printing.
Yeah. They apparently just launched new dye sublimation printers back in April 2024, the SureColor F1 WinN70 and F1 Win70H.
Dye sublimation. How does that work again?
That's where the ink turns into a gas under heat and pressure and basically infuses into the fabric fibers, usually polyester. Makes for really vibrant, permanent prints.
Okay. And what's special about these new Epson ones?
The focus seems to be on industrial scale. Reliability, high productivity, cost efficiency. They're built for high-volume work, web-to-print businesses. They handle big media rolls, have expanded ink sets.
So that fits exactly with the trend of digital moving into bigger production volumes.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of the industry scaling up its digital offerings.
Great example. Okay, let's try and wrap this up. We've covered a lot of ground. What are the absolute must-remember takeaways from this deep dive?
I think the biggest one is just the scale and certainty of the projected growth. This market is set to more than double. We'd be closer to triple by 2033. That's huge.
Right. Driven by.
Driven by that powerful mix.
Yeah.
The demand for sustainable options, the whole e-commerce and print-on-demand revolution, and fashion's need for speed and customization.
And we saw it's happening globally, but APAC is really set to explode growth-wise, even though North America and Europe hold the biggest value share right now.
Exactly. And we saw those internal dynamics, dispersed inks, leading now but reactive growing fastest, natural fibers popular but polyester versatile and growing, TIJ for detail, CIJ for speed.
Apparel being the biggest application, but advertising growing fastest.
Yeah. And the overarching trends pushing forward are definitely more personalization, more sustainability in inks and processes, and technology getting faster, more efficient.
So the real aha moment, maybe, is how technology is finally catching up perfectly with what consumers increasingly want: personalization and sustainability. And the fashion and advertising industries are just amplifying that.
Well put. It's a real convergence.
Which makes you wonder, right? What does this mean for other industries, like traditional textile mills, designers, logistics companies that have to handle all these custom orders, even environmental regulations?
Great questions. As digital becomes even more mainstream, what new innovations pop up? What challenges haven't we thought of yet?
Yeah. And just fundamentally, what does it tell us about where we're headed with how we make and buy?
Well, almost everything. That ability to personalize seems key.
It really does. Definitely something to keep thinking about.